Hey Gearheads, and welcome to GT Garage Talk, a discussion about all things automotive. I am your host Cory, and this week I am still on an adrenaline high from 807 horsepower around road course at Texas Motor Speedway. I was not the only one there. I have actually got a friend, partner in crime, my business partner who does a bunch of editing and video work for me, Eric O'Hara of One Off Photography. How's it going, sir?
It's going good since I drove that supercharged Hemi.
Yeah. So we'll start there because that was the one. I've seen the numbers. It was the most driven car at the event. You and I'll wrap it up. We just attended the Texas Auto Riders Auto Roundup, in which 30 plus vehicles from many different manufacturers were brought together for many different journalists to review, vote on, and assess the features of. And the coolest one there, I would say by most appropriations, was that it was a 2022 Dodge Challenger Super Stock, which has the 807 6.2 liter supercharged Hemi. That just sounded glorious.
Yeah, 315 wide tires, front and back.
Yeah.
So you can just
roast the back ones,
swap them, and
then
go again.
Yeah. Which they did appropriately do for us before they left the event. So Dodge was kind enough to provide us with two professional racing instructors. I can't talk. And just incredibly grateful for their wisdom and tutelage while we were out there. But since, the event was over, they needed new tires anyway.
You got to do something with the old ones.
Yeah. So they gave us a little smoke show with the smoke show painted Challenger. And, so glorious.
I think one of the craziest thing about that event is probably my second favorite car has substantially less horsepower.
Yes. Let me guess here. Hyundai Elantra N.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
and we drove cars that had, power that was in between and much higher than that Elantra. And it's so well put together.
Yeah. So Hyundai brought out two vehicles, very different in nature, to this event. The all-electric 2022 Hyundai Ioniq 5, which is a pretty cool vehicle. One will be coming here for me to test on the channel very shortly. The other one was that 2022 Hyundai Elantra N, which is their Nürburgring track-tested super compact sedan that was so good.
Very good.
In a very different way than that Challenger.
Yes.
So you alluded to it. The crazy part about this event is the just crazy breadth in cars, like what all is there. And then
minivans and a super stock.
Yes.
And everything in between.
Electric vehicles, economy vehicles, super luxury vehicles, like that Genesis G80. You didn't get to drive it. I took it around Texas Motor Speedway outside the course, unfortunately not inside the course, and just was pampered the entire way. 70,000+. I think it was 71 and some change. Luxury, large sedan, and very, very opulent inside. And then we also drove the Nissan Kicks, which $20,000 fun little entry car. Like best way I could summarize it is it's a great college car.
It's probably a car that more people are going to buy than that super stock as well.
Or the one of 50 Lexus RCF Fuji Speedway track editions.
Yes.
So yeah, just a total crazy amount and breadth of cars there. So we'll dig. Let's hone in on one.
Okay, go ahead. Guide me.
The super stock. That's where we started off with this. Is this your first time experiencing that beautiful Hellcat engine?
Yeah, it is not. I've driven a standard Charger, standard 707 horsepower, but
I know, right?
just the regular old Hellcat. But it was the Charger Hellcat. But that thing was set up like a regular street Dodge Charger Hellcat.
No wide body.
Super stock is
just something else.
Whole different kind of car.
And correct me if I'm wrong, that was a 2019 green Charger.
Yes.
You and I have both driven. I've got a video of it up on the channel.
Very same car.
He actually gave you the red key. He didn't give me the red key.
Well, I had to ask.
Okay.
It's for videography purposes.
Right. So if you are unaware, the most insane Hellcat-powered vehicles do come with two keys, a red one and a black one. The black one, by nature of computer limitations, only gives you 500 plus horsepower.
Measly 500.
Yeah.
That's all you get.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
How am I supposed to go to like the store with 500?
Right.
I can barely even drive it.
Whereas the red key unlocks the full potential of the vehicle, which your green Charger 700-ish only.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry for your loss. But yeah, this Challenger Super Stock had the red eye package, which basically unlocks even more. And in the Challenger was 807 horsepower. Now, you would imagine, listeners, that this vehicle is built to go solely in a straight line.
It does that well.
It does that very well and very quickly if you can lock up those rear tires, which there is a launch control button in there.
Good luck with that, by the way.
Yeah. Yes. Launch control is supposed to help modulate and make sure that you actually get rolling before it just completely obliterates the tire. It also does have a line lock mode that makes it even easier to roast the tires.
As if it wasn't easy enough. I think that's more saving the rear brakes than making it easier.
So that locks up the front brakes and just allows you to roast the tires, which, okay, so I'll bring it back to that tire roasting finale swan song of the event for us. We actually had the other Hellcat powered, well, it wasn't even Hellcat powered, the other Hemi powered
392 Scat Pack.
vehicle there was a Charger 392 Scat Pack that had to do with a even more measly 400 plus horsepower, I think 485, somewhere in there, and had them side by side for the burnout. And it's crazy what nearly 400 more horsepower.
That generates a little bit more smoke, huh?
Yeah. I took a couple different angles of this burnout, and from behind I had a slow-mo camera, and you can see the Charger with its 485 horsepower is spinning the tires. Smoke is being generated, but is just being completely overshadowed by the 807 horsepower Challenger.
Yeah, I think the really soft Nito track super slick 315 wide tires are probably assisting with the generation of smoke.
Yes. So it's all in how they were equipped, how they were sitting there, but it was very interesting.
Yeah, and back to what you were saying about it seemingly only being good in a straight line. That Super Stock, it's a wide body. It's 315 wide, 315 millimeter wide tires, front and rear.
Right.
And the amount of grip that you get out of that, like if you've driven a regular Hellcat, and they're known for cutting the back end loose, not turning very well. This is so much more of a track car than most people probably understand, because there's not many of them out there to drive.
Right.
So great around a corner. I thought I was pushing it, and I wasn't even close. Like, you get up and going so fast. You get just tunnel vision by the speed, and then you're like, oh, I need to turn. And when you turn, it's not even struggling.
Right.
No squeal, nothing. It just grips and goes right on in.
I had a trouble disconnecting from my memories of playing Need for Speed growing up as a kid. Like it felt like a video game, and every once in a while no, you're really in a car. You're really doing like fast speeds around a corner.
There's no pause and restart. Please don't crash.
Yes. And in all of the vehicles, and we'll get into this later, You stayed for one day. I was there for two, and I wanted to make sure that I at least got seat time in, because part of what we were there for was not only to generate content, but was to grade them. And so I, at one point, put the cameras down, put a helmet on, and jumped in one performance car after another. We had a stickering system. Some vehicles were allowed on the road course or inside Texas Motor Speedway, and some were not. Some were allowed.
Some of them that were not, I would have paid cash
Yes.
that day to take it on the track.
The G70 from Genesis with the 3.3 twin turbo under the hood and rear wheel drive.
The Lexus cars might not have been set up for a track, the IS 500s.
Right.
But I would have liked to
give
it a try.
You bring up that IS 500. They actually brought that exact same one to the event last year. And because we were like the first ones to see it in person, it was a stationary, like we could walk around it. We could talk about what was on it, but that was it. They brought it back to us this year. It had over 2,000 track miles on it. So it had put in the work.
Okay.
And hard 2,000-mile life that car has driven. But yeah, would have loved to have taken that one on the track. There was a Miata there that wasn't cleared for the track because of the soft top and liability reasons, things like that. Shoot, I would have even loved to take the minivans around the track. Like, let me take whatever. I won't wreck it. I'm too cautious for that. But
CX-50, not a track car. I'd love to give it a try.
Has a sport mode. Let's see.
It has a sport mode.
Yeah. So many different vehicles to do that, Ed. But by far, the craziest was that Hellcat. You hear that 2.3 liter supercharger under the hood. That supercharger has more capacity than my daily driver,
But
which
has more displacement.
because it's 2.3 liter supercharger. My daily is a 1.4 liter 4-cylinder. So yeah, it's just crazy numbers on that car. And yes, it actually does take corners, and it will blow your mind in that fact. We do have footage of that. It will be going up on the channel soon.
I took some risks by putting microphones not only at the tailpipes but under the hood. You get the full experience, and it sounds like a TV commercial.
Yes, it does.
It's going to be on a YouTube channel.
Yes.
It's going to be really cool.
So you sent me a little bit of that work after you had gotten home with the footage that I was able to get to you through the hotel's Wi-Fi, and I got to show it to the Dodge brand guys, Ashton, and he was just giddy with excitement. He explained it just like that. It sounds like one of our commercials, but it was taken here on the track.
1 day prior.
Right.
I did a 14-hour day and then woke up at 3 in the morning out of excitement because I just knew it was sitting on the hard drive waiting for me to play with it.
Yeah, I woke up early the next morning too and was surprised to see messages from you. I was like, oh, he's excited. So yeah, that kind of segues into, we could come back to the track stuff, what it is that you do for a living. And you've done several things, but right now you are focusing on your brand, One-Off Productions and Videography. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I specialize, like super specialize, like all I do right now is automotive photography, videography, TV commercials. I produce a lot of your videos on your channel.
Yes. Thank you.
Do photos. I've spent quite a bit of time on the track and also driving like a madman on public roads legally.
Right.
So I'm comfortable with the vehicle. So I'm not too bad whenever we go and do track tests and stuff like that. But yeah, it's One-Off Productions, oneoffads.com. It's kind of my living portfolio, but it's automotive. I like driving cars. They look cool. They sound cool. They're fun to drive. So I was like, how do I make money driving cool cars?
I believe that was the same process of thought that led me to GT Garage Talk. And I would say, I'm trying to remember the details specifically, but I believe somehow Instagram was involved where our paths crossed.
Yeah, I was gonna buy a banner ad to put on your blog.
Yeah.
And I was like, why don't we just trade work? And then we've just been trading.
Yeah.
It never stopped.
Yes. And it's been beneficial for both of us.
Yes.
It's allowed you to see and experience cars that you hadn't yet. Same for me. So that lends me to, right before you came over to sit here with me in the studio to record, what were you driving?
A 2019 Porsche Carrera Turbo.
All right. And your thoughts?
So I'll preface this by saying if I like a car, it's because it feels dangerous. I like to feel
Right.
endangered by a vehicle. Okay. So I
Interesting.
like the car, but
Right.
these newer Porsches are so
Tame.
well controlled.
Yeah.
I mean, they run quick. They're great cars, but they're not dangerous feeling. So I wouldn't buy it.
Right.
Not that it's in my budget,
Right.
but I like it. I liked it a lot, but I expected it to be more visceral, and it's not.
So that brings us back to the Hellcat. and-
Dangerous.
yes.
Love it.
Yes. Knowing that, if you just blip the throttle a little too much on a
Oh,
corner,
yeah.
you could spin out or end up
He's
in
like,
the...
traction control's on, and I'm like, okay, and I push the gas, and where's the traction?
Yeah.
Nothing's under control.
Like, what's going on? Yeah. So at the time that you were there on the track, that Challenger, I let you take that one out solo. One, I didn't want to crawl in the back seat. The back seat is rather large in the back of the Challenger, not like a Camaro or Mustang. But two, I had just gone around the track helping reset cones in the back of a Ford Explorer, and the body roll on that had me feeling a little bit queasy. So I was not going to sign up for 807 horsepower in the back seat. But yeah, I took that one out with Moses, and exactly same experience. You mash the throttle and you instantly get squirrely, and I'm like, wait, traction control?
Was launch mode on? Yeah.
Can you imagine if it weren't?
I'd like to do it. I would like to do it without traction control on. But
So
they said don't crash. So.
Right. So what has been the craziest vehicle you've experienced in your life? I know there's a GTR in that mix.
Yeah, I've driven a 1,000 to the wheel horse GTR. I did not know how much power it had.
It seems like information they should let you know.
And so he reaches. I'm in the car. It's idling because I let the cars, especially boosted cars, I let them get up to temperature before I even leave the parking lot. He reaches in there. He hits the 3 toggles. Right, not the throttle, but the suspension, the transmission, and then the sport mode.
Okay.
Basically turns all the nannies off, and he says, "Have fun," and shuts the doors. I'm like, that's dangerous to tell me that, but I went and did the photos, so I figured if I crash now, at least the photos are done.
Right.
So and it's on Nito Supra. It's on semi-slick tires. It's been up to temperature. I punch it. And I was terrified, but it was so much fun. I babied it back to the dealership after that because I was frightened.
This is a good time to tell any potential future clients of his that he does have business insurance, and you would be completely
I'm
covered.
super insured.
Yes.
I'm super insured.
Yeah.
He said have fun.
Right.
He
gave
did
you
it to
the sign
himself.
off, and you're insured. So yes, all
I've
bets.
also crashed exactly 0 vehicles. So
Knock on wood, but or plastic, as the case may be here. So, yeah. Any other crazy vehicles in your anything that stands out? Maybe something off road. I know you and I have done some stuff over at Barnwell.
I personally had a 2018 ZR2.
Okay.
They don't mind getting airborne.
I think it was part of the product planning for that vehicle.
It works.
Yes.
It works well.
Those DSSV shocks.
Great.
Yeah.
Everything seems so similar when you're driving it around town until you start getting them to the limit of what they're designed to do, and you realize how incredibly different they all are. Mm-hmm. And so if you start pushing a car, every car has a very special feeling.
Right. And kind of goes back to, wanting to feel dangerous in cars and
Love it.
Just have that visceral feeling. Kind of brings me back to, I'm a big Top Gear Grand Tour fan. James May, his summation of it was that cars feel cool at their limit, at their margins. And so he kind of gets excited about lesser cars because it is easier to get them to that place. Yes. Which leads me to you really like the Elantra. I really liked the Elantra, but I'd say perhaps the most underrated vehicle at the Auto Roundup was Toyota's new GR86.
Yes. Love that car.
You and I took a base model stick shift around East Texas on public roads, and we're like, okay, this is really good. So you and I were both very excited. They had both a manual and an automatic there for us.
I didn't even look at the
right.
even...
I drove it for intro and outro purposes just to give us a different look. Plus, the red manual transmission one was currently on the track at the time. So anyway, we took it out. Unfortunately for both of us, when we did have it out, we were still working through some logistics on the track, and it was a 1 lap limit, which we realized halfway through the first day we needed to warm the vehicles up more. The tires need a little bit more before we could really test them at their limits.
Yes.
And so you and I noted as we drove it that it needed a little more in the tire department.
Right. And let me be clear. I like feeling like I'm being dangerous in a car, but I don't actually like to be dangerous. I don't like to turn in and the nose just plows through a corner.
Right.
I'm like, I'm just a passenger at this point.
I'm
no longer driving.
Participant, yes. So that is a little bit of the feeling that we had day one driving in it. I can tell you when you got them warm and actually properly stretched their legs as you should, different driving experience and just totally underrated car. Those things start at 30K. Like it blows my mind what Toyota and Subaru were able to do with that vehicle.
It's deceptively fast. It's faster than it appears to be on paper because it's so well put together. And it really makes you mourn for any vehicle that has that same 2.4 liter boxer engine attached to a CVT.
Right. Like
such a good engine. It pulls and pulls until you hit red line. It loves to rev out.
And on, like you said, on paper, this one had just over 200 horsepower, but it was mated to a manual transmission, powering the rear wheels. We had it at a track. Just a truly fun car. The one we drove, we really liked here in East Texas, which is honestly the better quote unquote review of that vehicle for most people, because most people don't have access to a road course.
No.
Yeah. So, yes, we did have fun with one on a track. Yes, we did take one out. Until that video drops, go check out the review of the white one that we drove here in East Texas. And yeah, so much fun. And after we were done filming that day, a Bugatti, no, what was it that pulled up right next to?
If a Bugatti showed up
yeah.
and you didn't call me to make the 3-hour drive right back to Fort Worth, I'm leaving this podcast right now.
No, I'm trying to remember what it was that showed up right next to us after we were done shooting the white one. It was that flat gray with that neon.
Bentley.
Yeah, Bentley. I don't know why I went Bugatti. I've seen a few in my life, but I knew that was
same
not
parent
it.
company.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they own everything now.
Yeah. The brake discs were the size of my entire wheel and tire combination.
Yeah. So just insane. To prove the point that you and I love cars, we want to see and experience everything there is underneath the sun, and all the way down to, again, that Nissan Kicks that we had. Serves a point, serves a purpose. I've said it on this channel for a while. Every car serves a purpose. Whether or not it follows through on that purpose is up for debate, and that's kind of how I frame my reviews on the channel. But every car serves a purpose. And so while there was a Nissan Kicks there next to one of 50 Lexus RCF Fuji Speedway Track Edition vehicles there, both serve a purpose. And totally
and you have
fun.
to judge a car by its price bracket and its position in the market, like its category.
Right.
You can't compare the Super stock to a Sienna. I mean, you can, but you're wasting your time.
Right. And which is funny because I actually drove the Sienna home, the one from the event.
How was it around the course?
If only. So I proved to be a very comfortable cruiser on the way home. It's just a shame that I couldn't ride in the back because it has a super slide middle row seats that go practically into the back seat with pop out ottoman, drop down TV. Like, much like the BMWs you and I shot a commercial for.
7 Series?
Yeah, those 7 Series. It's more so the executive package that you would want.
For the kids?
For the kids, absolutely. Unfortunately, most of the cool features will be a little lost on Tucker since he's got a child seat instead of being able to fully relax and lounge in there. But, we can park out in the driveway and have some fun.
If these minivans get much better, they're going to turn into the new 7 Series. Adults are going to get them just to put around town and be comfortable.
Well, that's what Kia's kind of aiming for with their Carnival. They're calling it the MPV. They don't want to call it the minivan. That's multi-purpose vehicle. They want adults to drive around in it. The build quality that Kia and parent company Hyundai have been cranking out here lately just proves that out, that they are in a position in the market where they could rival major players that have been around much longer.
Yeah, and for people that still use the phrase for the new vehicles, it's just a Kia, are unfortunately mistaken. They probably, and you could have had a Kia from just 15 years ago. It's not even close to what they're doing anymore.
Yeah, one of the first vehicles I reviewed on my channel for any length of time was a 2021 Kia K5 GT line. Got to borrow it over a weekend from our local dealership here in town. Shout out Pelche Kia. Thank you, Josh. And my wife still, we're a year out. She still talks about it and compares other vehicles to it. When we toss around the idea of what vehicle is next for us, that keeps getting tossed out. Like, it made that kind of impression on her that here we are a year later still talking about it, considering it. And it's crazy what they've become.
That's one of the cars that if you took the Kia badges off of it and stuck a non-car person in it and told them to guess the brand, they would probably skip right over Kia and jump more to Toyota, Honda, established,
right,
known to put out cars like that type of brands, just because it's so much better than what they were known for. They were disposable cars is what they were.
Right.
But that's not the case anymore.
All right, so we've got a little bit of time left to finish talking Texas Auto Riders Roundup. What are some other notable cars that stood out to you? We haven't even talked the Elantra.
Can we talk Elantra?
Yeah.
If anyone likes or is a fan of or takes seriously the Honda Type R and they don't think about the Elantra in the same way, they are mistaken. That is an absolute track weapon. It feels very Type R-esque. You can even slap the RPM limiter and it's like it doesn't even launch you forward. It's just like, hey, it's time to shift.
Yeah.
It's so good. The tires they put on it, it's nice and tight. You can open the trunk. And we were both surprised because I was holding the camera and I could hear it in your voice. You're like, there's
scaffolding back here.
there's struts. It's got extra cross bracing in the back that's also painted red. It's just so good, and it's at such a low price point.
Yeah, and we can talk with some legitimacy to this because we took out a 2019 Civic Type R. You and I were both blown away with that vehicle too.
Yes.
And it's got more power. It's got more heritage behind it. We unfortunately did not get to take that one out on a track, but we did push it. We did see it is as good as fanboys would lead us to believe. Like, I understand now. That was my whole angle on the video review of it was I get it. Okay. Yeah. Like,
you thought it was just one of those cars that had
a cult following for
undeserved hype.
Right.
But no, it's a great car.
And to heap that praise onto the Elantra N is also saying something. Granted, yes, we only took that one out on the track. But I mean,
that's what it's for, right?
Exactly.
Nürburgring is what N stands for, correct?
And just so good. pushing the in button on the steering wheel.
Oh yeah, the flames
and the sound, the pops, the crackles out the back. I always looked up when someone else was taking it on a hot lap around the track, because there were a few cars that had a distinct enough sound that you knew what it was when it was going around the track out there. And that was one of them. Obviously, the Super Stock being another. But it just puts a smile on your face to the point where I was working on a story yesterday and hearing cars. We're pretty close to Broadway, a major road here in Tyler, and hearing cars drive down the street there. I'm like, yes, the track. Like, it was bringing back memories.
While I was taking pictures of that Porsche Carrera, I was in a parking lot, and I just hear this car screaming, and I was like, that sounds like a 392 Scat Pack. And I turn around and see the tail end of a Challenger going off into the distance.
The environment out there is just so amazing. You mentioned, and as did I, the strut tower bracing in the rear of the Elantra. What I did not expect, even more than that in that Elantra, was the fact that Toyota had done something similar in a flippin' Camry. So
yes.
we took out the camera TRD on the track.
Right.
Camry on a track. Like, the fact that it had a track sticker on it blew my mind. And for Toyota, Mr. Practicality of automakers, they made a competitor out of their little Camry TRD to the point where, for extra rigidity, you cannot fold down the back seat. So forget extra cargo storage space. No. We want you to be able to take this around the track and enjoy it.
The only thing that let that car down was the tires.
Right.
The car had more to give than the tires did.
Which, to that point, I did not fully wring it out, but I did take it out again when we had 2 laps to do it. And unfortunately, just like you and I did, I took it out right after the Elantra in, which I shouldn't have done. Totally just skewed my perception of it. But I reframed a little bit better when I went out in it solo, because prior to that, I saw someone else take it out on the track, and it was just so surreal to me to see a Camry going around a road course. So I appreciated what it was. $35,000 sedan, aero tires, no engine mods to speak of, but 301 horsepower.
And it's not a tiny sedan either.
Right.
You can get kids in the back seat, car seats. You have a full-size trunk. Just
blew my mind. I posted to my personal Facebook page pictures of everything that I drove at this event, and the picture of that one is getting the most traction, to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to reach out and ask Toyota to send me one.
I guess since Toyota paints that on the nose of a NASCAR, they probably should make something that's at least track worthy.
Right.
And I think they've done a pretty good job.
Yep. Totally. I may end up asking for that one for a week. It won't be on a track, but we've got some fun back roads around here that I can definitely, give it a little bit of spirited driving.
Yeah. I mean, safely,
legally. So, anything else stand out to you from that event?
I don't mean to make the whole thing about the Super Stock, but this is about the instructors. From Dodge.
Right.
The female instructor,
Sabre.
That's a cool name.
I know.
What's her real name?
Sabre.
So she was teaching you how to hit the apex. She's like, go out wider on this corner, you can carry more speed. And then the male, Moses, another cool name.
Yes.
I was like, so before we launched on my first lap with that Super Stock, he told me track mode's on, which will let you have a little bit of slip. It's an automatic transmission, but I can use the paddles. And I was like, is there anything else I need to know? He said, eyes up and hammer down. And he's just like, you're doing good. Keep going. As you're around the corner, he's like, you're doing good.
So
it's just part of the experience. The Dodge team knows that they make fun cars.
Yep. And kudos to the Dodge team for knowing they hired them out. So Moses actually runs a racing school based in Granbury, Texas. Moses Smith is his name. I'll try and remember to put links in the show notes below. Hopefully, looking forward to having him out because I tagged him in Instagram in my 2 posts of the burnout, and he reached out and asked for the original copies that I promptly sent to him. And I also left a business card with Sabre. I want to have both of them on the podcast to talk about their story and what they do. Because to your point, yes, I almost believe it's kind of counterintuitive, but I almost believe everyone at this event should have started out in those 2 Dodge cars because they come with the excellent instruction of Sabre and Moses. Because I will note last year, going out with Moses made me feel more confident about everything else on the track. Didn't hurt that we were in one of the most powerful vehicles there with his instruction. But yes, having proper instruction, knowing what you're doing. And I alluded earlier in this episode about playing video games all my life. I could know how to hit the apexes. I could know this is how you're supposed to flatten everything out. Totally different when you're holding the steering wheel and pushing the throttle.
When you're slinging 4,200 pounds worth of car around the corner.
Right. So just so much fun.
You can tell they've put hours and hours on the track because I feel like, and I'm a pretty good driver, I feel like I'm really pushing this car, and he might as well be sitting over there sipping on tea. They are so calm
and dialed in. Yeah.
And yes, they know exactly what the limit of the car is without them even driving it. And they know that, like, I feel I'm just having a blast over there, and they know I'm not even close.
Right. To the point that because of the way the track was set up, and it wasn't a race event, only 1 car was allowed on the track at a time, with the exception of those 2 Dodges when they were driving. And it was so cool to see them lead follow with one another, to hear them, I wish I could bottle up that experience and share it with everyone. And our YouTube reviews are going to have to be the best that we can do for that.
Make it your ringtone.
Yeah. Oh, that car.
It'd make me sad every time I answered it and it stopped making that noise.
Right. Well, the outro of the Challenger video, you haven't edited it yet, and I shot it after you had left, but basically kind of ends on a somber note because this is kind of the swan song for the Dino Juice burning vehicles from Dodge. They're pledging electric craziness, which Ashton from Dodge didn't. He towed the line. He said it'll be fun. It'll be exciting.
Sure
it'll be our Dodge thing, but it will be different. So,
and I don't hate electric cars other than if your gear selector gets mistaken for a windshield wiper knob, please stop doing that. You know what car I'm talking about.
I know which. I'm just going to leave it there. But yes. Anywho, so with that, for the auto roundup, I want to jump in and get to know your psyche, get into your brain just a little bit more. I've got 8 questions I'm going to fire at you, kind of lightning round style. Yes, they're yes, no, either, or they're fun. I've got a list of much more than 8. So the challenge will be for me, knowing you as I do, to pick the 8 best. And then I've got 2 more for those who support the channel on Patreon. We'll put that behind the paywall. So,
okay.
Are you ready?
I guess so.
All right. So I have to ask this of everyone. It's like my go-to question. Do you name your vehicles?
I do not.
Why?
I burn through cars way too fast.
Okay.
I usually swap cars every 1 to 2 years. I'm a sucker for a new experience. I know it's terrible to rotate through debt like that.
Yes.
But it's like I'm paying for a new experience.
Right.
So I'm trying to not do that. But like I love my car, and then the CX-50 because I have the CX-5 with the loud blow-off valve, and et cetera.
It's fun to hear.
And then the CX-50 comes out. I tell my wife, I'm like, Gabby, I need that car. She's like, you do not need that car. So no, I don't name them because I don't get attached. They're just ways for me to have fun.
We'll have it on good authority that a CX-50 will be coming for me to review for a week sometime soon.
I believe you can get those airborne.
Well,
I'm pretty sure.
Uh,
Pretty sure. I think they'll let you do it too.
So I will
What's
just
wrong,
say
Cory?
I have it on good authority. I hope this does not change that fact
We might
that
have
I
to
am on the
postpone
wait
this one
list.
until you have it.
Right. No, you make a very good point. I'm kind of the same way. I had what I counted as my dream car in my 2012 Camaro SS, and I had it for a year for financial reasons, one, and two, like even after a year of having quote unquote my dream car, I was looking and drooling at other things because you want that new, different experience to which I have found the antidote, and it is my current job.
Yes.
Like they bring me a new one every week,
Yeah,
and I
mine
don't have to
helps
pay.
too.
Yeah. So, okay. Fair enough. I will give you that one. Let's see here. Ooh. What is like your go-to driving soundtrack?
As hot as it is, I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Really? Okay. You are not the first to say that.
No, and if I hardly do very hard driving anymore because I'm in a CX-5 with 225 width tires. Like they just don't have enough bite to really do much hard driving.
Yeah.
But podcasts, or I'll just put it on mute and just listen to the motor.
Yeah. Well, when you've got a fun-sounding vehicle, it's hard to
like
do.
whenever I pick up client cars and I'm like that GTR, the Porsche, like it was playing a local good radio station that I like. I hit mute. I put the exhaust in loud mode and I just drive it.
So you were not with me at this event, but I did get to experience a Maserati Levante, which is their big crossover, Trofeo, which is their crazy version, which has a Ferrari-sourced engine under the hood. We did take around the product expert with us, to which he promptly spent about 5-10 minutes playing us different songs that he had on a thumb drive with the express purpose of showing us how good the sound system was, to which all of us agreed it was over-engineering to even have a sound system in there, much less one that was truly as good as that one was, because I just wanted to listen to that V8.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if you should pay like, you know how Dodge had the Demon box for $1. Can I pay $1 and they don't put a sound system in there and save me an extra 10 pounds?
Yeah, yeah, I see how you are there. You did make the joke every time we went out on the track and turning the AC off.
Oh, I turn the AC. I'd rather
Yes.
give me all the power. I
Yes.
turned off the AC every single time.
Which, on the day that you and I were there, it was cold.
Yeah,
It was cold and windy, so gotta love Fort Worth. Favorite car movie?
probably Gone in 60 Seconds.
Nicolas Cage version?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage version.
He's just so crazy. I can't wait. He's got a movie out now that he plays himself.
Yeah.
And I have to go see
You
that
see
one.
Jean-Claude Van Damme did a movie just like that too. Like
Really?
It's a
No.
spoof on his own life.
Oh my gosh.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. So, yeah, I
I
Gone in
probably
s-
would have said Fast and Furious if they would have stopped making the movies while they were still good.
Right.
But since they keep going, I'm going to have to redact that and go with something that was a one and done.
I 100% agree with everything you've just said in relation to car movies. You and I are around the same age. I owe a lot of my perception of vehicles to Gone in 60 Seconds. I have a little more respect for Eleanor, even though I am a
Hey,
Camaro
don't say
guy.
that too loud. They'll come and seize your podcast.
I know, right? We do have an Eleanor lookalike here in town that I see every once in a while, and it's just really cool to see her. And I mean, Carroll Shelby knew what he was doing,
Oh, yeah.
so it's yeah. So more tech in vehicles or less tech, and that could be
I give
everything
you a-
from
can I-
rev match to lane keep.
Okay. That's like a dual question almost, because it almost depends on the car. Like if we're
Right.
talking BMW 7 Series, loaded up with tech, who
Right,
cares?
right.
If we're talking GR86, really the only tech I want in there is an air conditioner and rev match.
Yeah. And
And I don't even like with a car with that little power. I don't even care if it has traction control.
yeah,
I just want to drive it.
that's what made that car so much fun. It was so simple. It reminds me of before technology was like the end all be all and everything.
Yeah, even the premium trim, black cloth seats.
Yeah.
You get a duckbill spoiler and like a couple little things, and
Okay, that's spoiler. Like that was the first thing that drew me to it. I had to ask the guys that were there from Toyota. I was like, is this different? Because I don't remember this on the base model that we drove. And yeah, the premium basically changes out wheel tires and puts a ridiculously
I
tall
like it.
duckbill on the back. I do too. All right. Yes, I would agree. And it goes back to our point of every car serves a purpose. What is that purpose and how does that technology help
And even
achieve?
technology that helps you go faster, once they get to a certain point, yes, you're going faster, but you're having less fun. Just like that Carrera Turbo I was in. Super fast car, not the most fun. Versus a C5 Corvette, just a dumb LS. It doesn't like the back end to stay where it's supposed to be, but it's so fun.
Yeah.
Because it's dumb.
And that's why I like, I still go back. I want to, at some point in my life, own a fourth gen, quote unquote, catfish Camaro SS.
Oh, yeah.
For that reason.
I do like the catfish.
Yeah.
I know it gets grief because of the way it looks.
Yeah.
I like the way it looks.
Yeah. I did notice he snuck a little something in my
did.
Camaro SS1LE
Yeah.
video. I left it. I could have taken it out. I left it in there. So, yeah. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Perhaps the most appropriate question, knowing you like I do, gonna really make you think about the answer to this one. On-road driving or off-road?
On-road.
Really?
On-road.
I
on
probably,
track. Can I say on track?
Yeah.
If I can get on a track, I love track driving. I love it. And you don't usually leave the track on the back of a tow truck.
Right.
Like you do when you're really hard driving off-road. You will always break something if you're really pushing it
Right.
on off-road, whether it's just dirt or if it's rocks, you're going to sling rocks everywhere. If it's soft sand, you're liable to pull the tire off the bead and roll the thing.
This sounds like it's all shared from personal experience.
Oh, yeah. That ZR2 cost me way more money than it should have.
Okay.
Way more money.
It's because of the fact that I knew you owned that ZR2. You and I have the playground that is Barnwell Mountain Recreation very close to us. Unfortunately, I'd say Texas Motor Speedway is probably our best bet for getting any track time around us.
Good luck catching them. They don't even have track days there, I don't think.
Right.
Their roster is so full with official events.
I mean, they're doing a trade days swap meet in the parking lot today. So I don't even know if the
swapping
track's open.
tires or something. Get out of here,
Yeah.
Granny. I'm trying to drive a car.
Right. So I did not quite expect that answer. If I had to put money on it, I would have put off road. So very interesting. Okay. Let's see, that's 6. All right, I'm gonna do a couple this or that vehicles with you.
Okay.
Wrangler or Bronco?
Bronco.
Yeah,
I like the innovation. I think it's good for the entire industry.
I do.
I don't like the way Wranglers drive,
Okay.
considering that 90+% of the time you're going to be on the road, and on the road they suck. If you get the lower Sahara trim, they're fine.
Yeah, they're built for
But whenever you get
on
them
road and
big,
soft off road.
big old thick tires on there, and you
Is that
really
with
get
2
it,
C's?
yeah, 2 or 3 C's. But whenever you get it nice and high off the road, it's just the suspension geometry is made for climbing over stuff, and so I like the Bronco. I think that's more the perfect mix.
Yeah, it blends on road off road very well. Ford did their research. They knew their market. They knew what they were bringing, and I've said this with several other journalists that while yes, I mean heck, I'm even comparing them right here to one another. People will cross shop them, but really they have 2 different missions, and they were built.
Yeah, if you want like a dedicated off-road rig, go Wrangler.
Right.
If you want something that's going to not suck to drive every day, but you can still have a lot of fun with it and be very capable, go Bronco. The only thing wrong with the Bronco is that it shares a name with the Bronco Sport.
Yeah.
That's a sin. That's a car sin.
Yeah, and then the whole botched rollout. I know it wasn't entirely their fault, chip shortages and whatnot, but
it's here now, and it's a great car.
Yeah. TRX or Raptor?
Never been in a TRX.
Okay.
Judging by the powertrain and the soundtrack of America, I'm probably going to go TRX.
All right. Well,
Because if you're going to get a big truck, just get a big truck.
Right. Leave your schedule open for early October, good sir, because I have a good feeling we can get you behind the wheel of a TRX and may even get you behind a Raptor either by that event or at that event as well. Very, very much.
Third gen Raptor?
Current.
That's the only one I have not driven.
Yeah. It'll be the current generation Raptor for sure.
That'll be good.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got one more here. Let's go with, kind of goes back to something we talked about with technology. More tech or less tech? I mean, new car or classic car? Sorry.
Oh, my goodness. They're all so good in such different ways. Okay.
I'm going to hit you with this even harder because in our Patreon segment, I've got 2 more questions for you. I'm going to give you a number that can be spent on a or some vehicles. So, yeah.
So, like what kind of question is this? Like, I have to pick a new or old car, and that's the only car I get to drive. How extreme are we going with this, Corey? Because this is difficult.
I know. I've been told that these questions are harder than I intended for them to be, but notice I've never had to answer them.
That's terrible.
I know, right? But do you feel like, we have surpassed the good old days? Are we in the good old days now? Like, I understand, again, to our point, every car serves a purpose, but
it's hard to say because cars like the GR86 feel like a classic sports car.
right.
But I would probably say old cars, especially if we're talking money. You know how much power you can get to C5 for the money that you would spend on a bone stock C8? Mm-hmm. And I've driven a standard C5. Mm-hmm. I've driven a C4. Mm-hmm. I've driven
that was owned by Michael Jackson, I do believe.
I've driven a C6. Mm-hmm. I've driven a C7 and a C8. Mm-hmm. I like the C5 the best. Mm-hmm. And that's not too old.
Right.
Because you can keep going back
to
the C4. But the C5 was a sweet spot for me. So if by old you mean older than 2000,
right,
I would go pre-2000.
Yeah. Okay.
Just because they feel more dangerous.
There it is. That's the key to it.
Because now now on most of these cars, you turn off traction control and it's not off.
Right.
And you don't realize that until you're scooting the back end out, you're having a good time, and all of a sudden it snatches the back end from you and it scares the crap out of you.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm going to go old cars.
Yeah. I will say we attempted multiple times to engage launch control, both you and I, some other journalists, and the Lexus representatives there who were able to finally figure it out. But the launch control in the, I hate to keep bringing it up, the RCF Fuji Speedway Track Edition, there's a giant button that says launch, but you push it and nothing happens. You have to be in Sport Plus. You have to turn off traction control. And then you can hit the launch button.
Isn't that kind of counterintuitive? Because that's not even like a drag strip car. That's not something you're taking to the drag strip. So realistically, the only time you're going to use launch control is if you have a standing start on a track day, which good luck because most of them are rolling starts. Mm-hmm. Or you're street racing.
Which, no.
Oh, don't do that, guys. But what I'm saying is there's no... Why I put a launch control and then buried under all these things?
Yeah.
Because you're probably just going to be at a stoplight or you're all by yourself. You're like, hey, I'm about to let this thing eat.
Yeah.
And then by the time it turns green, you still haven't figured out your launch control. And then you're wondering why you just spent $75,000 on this car.
Right. Oh, that one's 107, but tomato. 1 of 50,
Does it
man.
come with a Lexus rep to set up my launch control for me?
No, I just told you how to do it.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. I put in
How much did they pay you?
I put in the hard work. It is part of what I do. Hard-hitting automotive journalism. Well, Gearheads, that about does it for my time here with Eric. I do have a couple more questions with him behind the paywall. If you want to support me here at GT Garage Talk, just do so by finding me at patreon.com/GT Garage Talk. You can find him at One Off Ads. That'll link you to all his social. You can find me at gtgaragetalk.com. That'll link you to all mine. Until next time, bye.